Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Monday episode of Foul Territory. I'm Alanna Rizzo, pinch hitting for Scott Braun. He'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Of course, we have AJ Pierzynski and Erik Kratz, two of our regulars. Great to be with you guys. AJ, I know you did the game over the weekend. I believe it was the Cubs and Giants. Is that right? How'd it go for you?
Oh, it's Texas and the Giants.
No,
it was
that's
the Rangers.
Right. Rangers and the Giants. And the walk-off, Little League home run walk-off yesterday?
Yeah, no, we had a walk-off, but it was a ball that barely got to the outfield. So they basically got two infield walk-offs 2 days in a row. And if you don't know much about the Giants, they are second, I believe, we looked it up, in the league in walk-offs since their park opened in 2000. Only Oakland/Sacramento has more. And, of course, they got one yesterday also. But our game was great. I mean, two pitchers that pitched, Molly and, who pitched for the Robbie Ray, both pitched great. They won 3-2. It was Brandon Crawford Day. I got to see him and his flowing locks. Got to see Buster Posey, Larry Bear, Murph. If you played for the Giants, everyone knows who Murph is. And, you know, Alana, off the air, you were talking about being a foodie. I mean, I hit like 7 of the best restaurants in Sacramento for 3 days. It was a pretty good weekend.
That's fantastic. And I see that Boach and Buster had the reunion, of course. The Rangers in town playing the Giants. Giants had a good weekend against Texas. Kratz, how was your weekend, my friend? I know you weren't covering a game, but what'd you do?
I covered 4 games. My daughter went 5 for 8 in her 4 softball games. Absolutely rocking balls. So I get it. I'm not sideline reporter for the Dodgers or main analyst for Fox, but hey, you know what? The Harvey L. Williams Park, there was a lot of softball games, and I was front and center for those Jones.
Hey, not for nothing. I'm not the sideline reporter for the Dodgers anymore either. You're just as important as the three of us. All right, guys, good to be with you for the next couple of What?
Hold on. I got to throw this in there, by the way. Okay. I don't know if you guys have done this in Arizona or I think they only have them in Arizona and Sacramento. San Francisco. The driverless cars.
Have you guys been in a driverless? No, I refuse to do it.
Oh my gosh. First time I got in, coming home from dinner on Friday night, I'm going to try it. Freaked me out a little bit. Then I kind of got used to it. It was nice. There's nobody talking to. You can do the music. You can do the climate control. You do it all right there on the little screen.
But what if there's a glitch?
I don't know. You got to buckle up. They make sure you're buckled up. The only glitch I ran into was yesterday after dinner. I had to get back to go to the airport for my red eye home to be on the show today. And we were kind of in a lane where there was people going by. And I'm like, this Waymo's never going to have the guts to pull out in front of a car. And eventually it's just like spun the tires out and went. But it freaks you out a little bit. But there's some good to it too. I mean, I don't know. I have drivers and non-driver cars. But the fact that I tweeted this over the weekend, the fact we can't review whether Jung-Hoo Lee took a swing and fouled the ball off, but I can take a taxi with no driver in it, seems a little bit ridiculous, Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I don't know that I would do that. I'm afraid of a glitch. I don't know what's worse, not being in control or having an Uber driver that won't shut up. Erik, would you do it? Would you take a Waymo?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'll try anything twice. And what if you like it? Then you're just going to have it all the time, and you'll never have. Are they?
It's like half the price from the same spot. It was like $50 in an Uber black, because I only take black. You guys know that.
Okay, thank you. There we go.
And the Waymo was half the price. One was $50, one was $25 to the same spot, from the same spot to back and forth from the hotel.
You ride in the most expensive car ever, and you're going to take the cheapest car just because it's a fun ride. You didn't do it. This is a fake story. Fake news for everybody who's listening.
No, it's on his Instagram. I saw him in the Waymo. I'm glad that he lived to testify about the experience. It was there. If it's on the gram, you know it is real. All right, let's get to Charge the Mound. Let's talk some pitching. Charging the mound. Not good, guys. If you're Kevin Gausman, a 53-pitch first inning, and Claudia, our producer, asked both of you in our pre-pro meeting today if either of you were ever behind the dish in which a pitcher had thrown at least 50 pitches in the inning. AJ, what say you?
No chance. I mean, maybe it happened, but I think we've always said if you get to 40, that's like incredible amount. Like when you get in the 30s, you got to get somebody up if you're the manager, because a pitcher going into the 40s, is usually when it gets in the danger zone of hurting themselves. So 53 pitches, wow. And then the problem after he got the 53rd pitch is even bigger. I hope he's okay and didn't blow something out falling down the steps.
That's insult to injury for sure. But this needs to be heard. This needs to be heard by all high school coaches who are listening right now. You don't throw 53 pitches in an inning. You don't tell your kids, hey, you got a 50-pitch bullpen today, and the kid just throws 50 straight pitches. Get a clue. This doesn't happen in the big leagues. For this to happen, I don't know how this happened. It was like, a little more. Don't do this to kids. This is not like in the minor leagues, teams have rules. You get to 25 pitches, you get somebody warming up, and then 30 pitches, you're not coming back out. 35, you're in, you're done, no matter what's going on. Like you can't errors, walks, whatever it is, hits. You just don't continue because this is when you can get hurt. I just couldn't believe Gausman stayed out for 53.
Do you think it's because they needed him to wear it based on bullpen usage from prior days? Or why is Schneider and the team letting him wear this for 53 pitches in one inning? And then he's yelling at the umpires, obviously, and then he falls down the stairs. I mean, is he wearing it?
Doubleheader.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, they know they had to double dip. I mean, sometimes you just get caught up in the moment, too, in the sense Pete Walker had come out in that inning. You know your guy. You know if it's, hey, I'm doing fine. There he goes down the steps. Like that's just, it's not a great video of it when you look at it. Those are big steps in Yankee Stadium too, by the way. They're not short. Like you're going down. But that's a grinder of a day for him. I don't know how it even gets past 40, let alone 13 more.
So apparently the reason he fell down the stairs is because he was yelling at umpire Chris Conroy, telling him he was going to go watch his bad umpiring, and he didn't see the stairs. So maybe that's just a sign that zip it.
I don't know. Yeah, you shouldn't have been. If you're going to yell, at least get your money's worth and yell. Like, go on the top step. You get ejected from the game. Kratz, who cares? You're already out of the game. What are they going to do? Throw you out of a game you're already out of? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the doubleheader is a likely excuse, but they had to have a fresh bullpen because they had the day before off or 2 days before off. So the bullpen had to be somewhat fresh. So I don't buy that. I don't know. I think they just kind of lost count and they got in the moment and they were hoping he could get out of it and he just never got out of it. Next thing you know, you look up because Kratz, it gets going quick and you don't realize it. And you're like, oh my gosh, he's throwing how many pitches? And then by the time he's already at 35, they got to try to get somebody up. And then it just keeps going. And then you're at 53. And you're like, oh, one more pitch, you'll be out of it. Oh, one more. And he never does. So hopefully Gausman's okay, not only arm-wise from the 53 pitches, but also rest of the body-wise from the crash he was in down the steps.
Yeah, and the ego bruising as well. Kratz, the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees are going in two very opposite directions. Obviously, the Blue Jays have signed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to a very long-term extension. We've talked about it at nauseum that the window with Bichette and Vladdy is closing. What do the Toronto Blue Jays need to do right now to right the ship? Still being early, but it's getting late early.
They got to start hitting. You can't you can't always get absolute gems out of your starting rotation, out of your bullpen. I think their bullpen's a little thin too, but I mean, if we're really talking about it, they have to start hitting. They have to start hitting for some power. I think they were 29th in the league in home runs, if I'm not incorrect. And I don't think they're ever going to lead the league or even be top 10, but you got to be in the middle of the pack. You got to be in the middle of the pack of driving the ball because they're going to pick it. They're going to run bases. They're going to get an upgrade when Dalton Varsho gets there, but you can't have, like, I was intrigued to see Andres Jimenez, who we love, batting cleanup to start the season, and he hit like 3 or 4 homers. I think he still leads the league, and he hasn't hit a homer in the last, or maybe 1 homer in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Like he leads the team, not the league. But like they're just not driving the ball. Vladdy hit his 2nd homer over the weekend. They have to start hitting homers, and I'm not saying home run or bust, but you can't just slap the ball around the ballpark in the big leagues and expect to win games consistently.
Jimenez was on a tear certainly earlier this season. Go ahead.
they've scored the fourth least amount of runs in baseball. Okay, so that's unacceptable for a team you think it hit. I mean, the Rangers have scored less. The Rockies, who, I mean, they're the worst at everything right now, and the Royals, who are doing okay because they're pitching, but they also don't give up a lot of runs because of the ballpark they're in. But I mean, the White Sox have scored the same amount of runs as the Blue Jays, and they're 7-21. So the pitching has been good. The problem is, like Kratz said, they don't score. Where's the offense come from? Just with Bichette and Springer and Kirk and Vlad, and yes, we'll throw in Jimenez, but these guys are supposed to be able to score runs. They haven't done this for a couple of years now. Maybe we need to start thinking these guys just aren't that good at offense.
Here's the proof to your point, you guys. Runs scored so far this season. The Yankees have 155 runs scored. The Toronto Blue Jays have scored 95. So a massive gap in terms of runs scored versus runs against. Devin Williams, as far as the Yankees are concerned, guys, our next topic here on Charge the Mound, has been relieved of his duties, at least for right now, Kratz, from the closer role. SNY TV with the tweet there on X. Again, this guy comes from Milwaukee. There was a big deal made about that. That he was going to be a good guy to have in the back end of that bullpen. And for whatever reason, you guys know better than I, being the positions that you're in, he's just not cutting it in that role. AJ, is it the bright lights, the big city? Is it, catching guys that he's not familiar to? Facing guys he's not familiar with in that division? What is it?
Pete Alonso broke him? I don't know. You forgot to throw that one in there, Alanna. I don't know. Maybe it's because he made the Yankees grow facial hair. Who knows? His velocity's down a little bit. He's not as sharp. He's always kind of been able to get away with it because of his airbender changeup. But guys have seen it now, and they're not having bad swings. I don't know. Other than his velocity's down, I don't know. We can make jokes all we want about why. I really don't know. It just hasn't worked out for him, and I don't know what the Yankees are going to do with him because they're in a race, and they're going to need to find a soft landing spot. Did Devin Williams pitch in the 6th inning for you? Maybe.
Erik, you know what it's like, obviously, playing for a lot of different teams. You know what it's like to play in massive, teams with a lot of pressure and teams not so much. He came from the Milwaukee Brewers. Is there something to that, or are we reading too much into that?
I think that is one of the most overblown things, unless the player comes out. I know players have come out and said, hey, you know what? That pressure really did get to me. Unless the player comes out and says it, I think that's one of the most overblown narratives that people want to put on playing for the Yankees. I didn't feel it, but I also I can't attest to the fact that you're the closer. You're the starting catcher. Like I played a subsidiary role. I played a backup role my whole career, any big cities that I played in. But my biggest thing is his command issues related to any kind of injury type? Is it anything that he's trying to fight through? You have to remember, this is his free agent year. So there's pressure on that, not pressure from the bright lights of New York. There's pressure on a free agent year. Do guys play through injuries that they may not play through other years? Yes. So is that causing his velocity dip? Maybe. Is it more causing, his walks? I mean, he's got 7 walks and 8 strikeouts. And this is a guy who he's not perfect, but other years, he's 28 walks to 87 strikeouts, 30 walks to 96 strikeouts. Like right now, it's too many walks. Mm-hmm. And it's catching up to him because he's not able to get that swing and miss airbender pitch. To me, it's not the beard. It's not Pete Alonso. It's not the bright lights in New York. He's going through a funk right now. And they have another closer. This is what good teams do. They have backups for their backups that are elite. They have another closer. He'll figure it out. And if he doesn't figure it out, then they'll try a different way. Big leagues, you have so much mechanical things that you can fix, pictures, video. It'll be faster turnaround than people think.
Here's my thing. Listen, I played and I get how this works. And people say, oh, it's not the pressure. It's not this. It's not the pressure. And you don't think that. But here's what happens. He gets off to a rough start, okay? For whatever reason. Then the media starts. If he would have got off to a great start, everyone would be like, oh, this guy's unbelievable. Gets off to a rough start. The media starts. The fans read the media. The fans react. And then they start booing and saying things that they probably shouldn't be saying. And then in your mind, no matter how hard you try to remove it, It's there. Man, I'm going to show these guys. And then you try a little bit harder. Now, does that make your velocity go down and your location get off a little bit? I don't know, but it can. So the problem is it's not that the actual pressure gets to you from the city. It's that, okay, I'm off to a bad start. Well, I want to prove it, and I want to get 10 saves in my next save, right? And then you miss. You make a mistake. The Blue Jays beat you on a ball, to right center, and then all of a sudden, and then everyone's like, we want Weaver. They're chanting, we want Weaver. They're booing him, right? It's just, it all starts adding up. And as a player, it's hard to stop that and get back to the beginning. And that's kind of what Aaron Boone is saying. We need to get him in a situation where he can take a breather and get back and get some scoreless inning and get his confidence back. It's not the actual pressure. It's the fact that you want to do so well. And plus it's his free agent year, throwing that, it just starts compounding. It's like an avalanche, and it's really hard to stop it.
I just feel like the margin for error in New York, or the magnifying glass, is so much larger. The microscope is so much bigger. He was getting booed on opening day. I mean, this isn't something that just started happening with the Weaver chant recently. This has been going on since the beginning of the season. Much more to come here on Foul Territory. We're still talking AL East. We're talking a bit of the Baltimore Orioles. Jacob Calvin Meyer, who covers the Orioles for the Baltimore Sun, will join us right after this.
Your hair is so much more than what you see when you look in the mirror. With Nutrafol's science-backed whole-body approach, nourish growth from within and achieve your best hair yet.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
Physician formulated with 100% drug-free ingredients, Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting key root causes of thinning like stress, hormones, and aging through whole body health.
Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol for a limited time. Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL.
Guys, I want to ask you a question here. I think managers can deal with physical mistakes, but not mental mistakes. Chisholm Jr. failed to throw the ball to get the lead runner out. He threw the ball to first instead. What was he thinking here, Kratz?
Thought he had him stopped. Thought he had him stopped enough that he was going to be able to get the out at first. I mean, that's the play if you can do it, but you got to get the lead. You got to get the lead runner in that situation. He's trying to get greedy and tricky. You also got to remember he hasn't played a full season at second base. Maybe that's an excuse. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't make excuses for him, but he's trying to get him to stop so that Goldie can then get him on the tag play after he throws it from first. But it wasn't well executed at all.
No question about that. You think there's a conversation there that has to be had with him, or you just think that's something that's just kind of a mental miscue and he knows what he did wrong there?
No, I think he knows. I think they have that conversation. I think Aaron Boone has that conversation. He played infield. His brother was one of the greatest second basemen of all time. I'm sure they've had a conversation. But, yeah, it was what Kratz said was he was trying to do. He just didn't execute it very well. There's no other way to put it. I mean, you got to attack that guy and make him almost go back to first base, not just stop, especially as close to second as he was. In all honesty, once he stopped him, he should have just stopped and flipped it to second and got the lead runner. But the game happens fast. We keep saying it. It happens fast, and there's a lot of things that happen fast.
Yeah, it's so easy for us to be able to speculate about what he should have done. We're certainly not doing it in real time. Jacob Calvin Meyer on the O's when we come back. And there he is. Jacob, welcome to Foul Territory. We appreciate you taking the time to be with me and AJ and Eric. And you recently wrote an article on the O's woes saying, is this the Orioles rock bottom or is it just who they are now? What did you learn from that piece?
Yeah, listen, it's been a tough start to the season for these guys. It's sort of an extension of what happened in the second half last year. inconsistent starting pitching, offense also inconsistent, and really struggling with runners in scoring position. This team has an amount of injuries that makes it extremely difficult for them to kind of get over this hump. Zach Eflin, Grayson Rodriguez, a bunch of other starting pitchers, Colton Cowser, Tyler O'Neill. It's hard to overcome those injuries, but at the same time, with the way they're playing this past week, outscored something like 53-12. They went 1-6. Last Sunday, they got blown out 24-2, and then only won one game in the next 6. It's tough to see them turning this around, but it is early. They're going to get guys back from injury, and the expected stats offensively do suggest that some of these guys are going to start to break out. But honestly, they need to tread water here in the next couple of weeks so that maybe by the summertime they can go on a little bit of a run. But it looks like they're starting to fall behind.
This is when they were supposed to be good. And don't give me listen, injuries are injuries, okay? But every team has them. The Cubs lost Justin Steele. The Dodgers don't have Kershaw, Glasnow, Snell. I mean, every team can look at it and say, oh, we have injuries. What do they need, first of all, to do to get out of this besides pitch better and score more runs? That's the obvious answer. And then how much of this is on their offseason? We keep harping on this, that they didn't go out and make the moves they needed to make, whether it was a big arm, a big bat, whatever they need to do, trade some of these young guys. So the question is, how do they get out of this, and how much of this goes back to the offseason?
Yeah, so how do they get out of this? Honestly, I don't know. That's probably above my pay grade. I think in the short term, like I said, you just got to tread water. They got the Yankees coming to town, then Kansas City. The schedule in May gets a lot easier. 7 of the 8 teams that they play in May are below 500 right now. But what could they have done to avoid this? I think you hit the nail on the head there with the offseason. Listen, 2 things can be true at the same time. This team the injuries are a major factor here, right? You mentioned everybody has injuries, but for this team, it's tough not to say that a significant portion of this pie is the fact that the injuries have really taken a toll. At the same time, people looked at their offseason and said that they needed to acquire a starting pitcher who was close to a guarantee of being solid, at least somebody that could be reliable. Instead, they went out and got 2 guys on 1-year contracts. One of them has been good in Tomo Sagano, and the other one in Charlie Morton has a 10.39 ERA. And so I think the offseason discourse was sort of hijacked by the quote unquote ace discussion with Corbin Burnes and acquiring an ace. And all of that was fair to an extent because you do need a pitcher like that for the most part to go far in the postseason. But for this team, it was less about an ace, especially when you consider the fact that Corbin Burnes seemed almost like a certainty that he was going to be out west. Instead of an ace, it was about getting a starting pitcher who you could bank on, somebody that was more reliable than a 41-year-old and somebody coming over from Japan, because those 1-year deals have a high rate of missing. And one of those guys, it appears, has been a whiff. Listen, this team is 10-11 in games not pitched by Charlie Morton, and they're 0-6 when he does pitch. So I'm not saying that the only reason that this team is struggling right now is Charlie Morton and the rotation. It's deeper than that. But what could they have done? I think you have to get in a time machine, go back in time, and maybe invest more in your rotation this offseason.
Have there been answers to that? Because we've heard rumors of Sonny Gray was looked to be traded to the Orioles. We heard what came out about Corbin Burnes, getting the huge deal AAV, but getting more over the long term of the contract from the Diamondbacks and wanting to go out west. Have there been answers from Mike Elias and the ownership saying, you know what, we did misstep, we're going to make the difference at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I'd say yes and no, right? So Mike has given some information about the dealings with Corbin Burnes. The team did offer a 4-year, $180 million contract that would have made Corbin Burnes the highest AAV pitcher in baseball, but that was a shorter deal than what he ended up getting from Arizona, and the deal from the Diamondbacks did include an opt-out. And at the same time, it was the first offseason with David Rubenstein, and they did spend about $73 million, and their payroll jumped from being bottom 5 in every year under Elias prior to now being around league average, I think 15th in baseball. And so they did go out and spend money, but it's how they went about spending money. And in terms of looking at the other pitchers who were on the market, I'm not talking about the aces, right? Blake Snell's hurt right now. The chance that they were going to be able to outbid the Yankees on Max Fried was small. There weren't really any aces other than Garrett Crochet who were traded. But when you look at guys like Nathan Eovaldi, Luis Severino, Yusei Kikuchi, Nick Pivetta, guys like that would have made a lot more sense for this team. I'm not quite sure why they opted to go for Charlie Morton over those guys. Now, again, if they had signed one of those guys instead of Charlie Morton, where would this team be? I don't know, maybe a 500 team, maybe slightly below 500. I don't think there would be panic among the fan base if they had invested more in the rotation this offseason. But if they had done that, I still don't think that this team would be anywhere near where people expected them to be. And that's because of all of these other factors, the underperformance of the offense, and the injuries.
Jose Quintana's 4-0 for the Brewers. Like, yeah, you can keep going down the list. Hindsight's 2020. But does this $73 million that the new ownership group allowed Mike Elias to spend put Mike Elias on an unnecessary chopping block that he didn't think he needed to be on because he kind of maybe punted right now, or he didn't do as well to start the season with that $73 million?
Yeah, listen, it's tough to be overly critical of Mike Elias, his regime, and this offseason, considering, generally speaking, how well this front office did at the beginning of the rebuild. And you can't forget, despite the postseason failures, that they were the American League's winningest team from 2023 through 2024. With that said, when you have an actual owner, somebody who is serious, unlike the ownership that they had previously, it does add pressure to everybody in the organization, Mike Elias especially. And so is David Rubenstein willing to look past a 10-17 start? Is he willing to look past giving Charlie Morton $15 million for a 10.39 ERA in April? Is he willing to look past a 3-year, $50 million contract for Tyler O'Neill, who's now on the injured list for the 15th time in his career? In the short term, I think so, right? But in the medium term, if this lingers throughout the season, if this bleeds into next season, if they don't get this turned around at some point, if they don't start capitalizing on what was perceived to be a championship window, then yes, the onus is on Mike Elias, and that is when the pressure will start to build.
Okay, so then the question becomes for you and for everybody that's an Orioles fan, is Mike Elias great at rebuilding and not great at taking the next step? Is he, because he was never the guy in Houston, he was the guy under the guy. So is he great at rebuilding, but maybe he doesn't know how to and there's, I don't know. It's just a question that I've seen, and Oriole fans I've talked to say maybe Elias is great at getting the prospects, but not great at taking them to the next level.
Yeah, listen, I think that's going to be something that in 5 to 10 years we can look back on and answer that question. It is something that goes through my head on a consistent basis when I look at this front office. I think the more important question when I'm looking at Mike Elias in this front office is how quick is the learning curve? So let's say that there's some partial truth there, which is that Mike Elias and Matt Blood and all of these guys in the front office, they're great at the rebuilding portion, the scouting, the development, the drafting, but maybe they're a little bit behind on some of the other aspects of this. The question is, are they going to be able to learn from the mistakes over the past couple of seasons? Are they going to be able to learn from this, or are they going to keep making the same mistakes? I look at the rotation or the starting pitching additions that Mike Elias has made since 2023. There are some real successes there, right? They went out and traded for Corbin Burnes for a year, and they did give up some prospects, but it's not like they gave up a haul to get Corbin Burnes, and he was outstanding for them. They made the best starting pitching addition at the deadline last season when they went out and got Zach Eflin, who I believe has a 2.75 ERA with the Orioles since that trade. They signed Kyle Gibson in 2023, and despite the fact that I think he had a 5 ERA, he was important for that team and was good. But then you look on the flip side, they've had some real swings and misses when they've tried to acquire starting pitchers. Jack Flaherty at the 2023 deadline had a 7 ERA. You look at Charlie Morton, 10.39 ERA right now. And then at the deadline last year, the other starting pitching addition they made was Trevor Rogers. They gave up Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers, two guys that it didn't exactly have places on the major league roster in Baltimore, especially Stowers. But those two guys are playing really well in Miami right now. They were MLB ready bats when they traded them away, And all they got was Trevor Rogers, who started 4 games for them last season, had a 7 ERA, and is currently on the injured list. So the question for this front office moving forward, and something that I'm going to be tracking, is how do they let what's happened in the past inform their decisions in the future?
Jacob, there seems to be more questions than answers right now for the O's, but if you're looking at a silver lining, I'd just go to the tweet that you had on X about the schedule upcoming. You really broke it down in terms of the April opponent and what they have to look forward to. And it seems like there's a bit of an upswing. At least they could take advantage of the teams in May. Tell us more.
Yeah, so I think there's 2 sides of this coin, which is, let's look at if I'm going to be sort of negative or bearish about this team, there's a pretty easy case to be made. They're 10-17. Their run differential is like -40 at this point. It's just hard to envision the rotation getting back on track. And there are some young guys who have been struggling over the past, 5 months or so, that there's questions about whether they're going to turn it around. And they also play in a pretty competitive division. So that's the bearish case. The bullish case is partially this tweet, which is that the schedule so far has been difficult. And if you look at the guys who are going to be returning, presumably Zach Eflin will return in May, Colton Cowser in June, Grayson Rodriguez in July. Those are not team timelines, to be clear. That's just me guessing. And then you look at Andrew Kittredge could come back in May or June. He was supposed to be a big reliever in that bullpen. And then Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells could come back second half of the season. There is a case to be made here that this team could easily get back on track in May. I just think they need to get to the point where maybe by the time the team gets to June 1st or even the break, where they're 500 or a little bit above 500, so that at the deadline they can go out, make a big splash, and then make a push in the second half. But the question is, they're 10-17. Let's say they lose this Yankees series, they're going to be 11-19. Then they have the Kansas City coming to town, a team that they've struggled against. And then you're looking at it, and the team's really behind the 8 ball.
Jacob, you mentioned guys struggling. I got to ask. There's 2 guys that come to mind. Well, Adley was hurt, so we'll give him a pass. I mean, not Adley, Gunnar. Gunnar was hurt at the beginning of the year, so we'll give him a pass to his early struggles. Adley Rutschman has struggled since the second half of last year. What's going on there? And then Jackson Holliday is a guy they brought up. He obviously had huge expectations. He's still young. But did they rush him to the big leagues? I know they sent him back, but did they rush him by giving him what they gave him, and does he need more seasoning?
Yeah, so what's funny about this offense, which ranks, I think, bottom 10 in baseball and runs scored and OPS, and the numbers with runners in scoring position is a big reason for that. I think they're 27th in baseball there and 6th for their last 60 in those situations. Those are fickle numbers that you would think would positively regress for them across the season, but who knows? On an individual basis, what's weird about this team is that I'm not really concerned about any of these guys individually compared with what I expected them to be. You mentioned Gunnar. I think he's 3rd in Major League Baseball in average exit velo at like 96 miles per hour. Gunnar's going to be fine. Adley Rutschman, I know the baseline numbers look like this has been an extension of what the second half looked like for him last year. The underlying numbers do not suggest that. The underlying metrics show that he has been much better at the plate. The plate discipline, the chase rate, the ability to put the bat on the ball, all of those things have been much better for him. I just think that there's been some bad luck there. Again, the expected stats for a lot of these guys have been are much better than the overall numbers. Jackson Holliday, I'm not too concerned about, just because I thought in the first half he would be about this, which is like a 230 to 250 hitter. I think his OPS is in like the 650 range. I expect him to get better as the year goes on. I don't think they rushed him. I don't know what else there was for him at AAA. I do think that it's okay if they give him some days off against left-handed pitchers, especially since Ramon Arias, like low key under the past year, has been one of this team's best hitters. And so getting him in the lineup as much as possible is important. The really only guys that I think that there's legitimate concern about is Tyler O'Neill. He really struggled before he went on the IL, and he's always had some injury concerns. And then Ryan Mountcastle, the wall coming in was supposed to be a big boost for him. That hasn't really been the case yet. That could be something when the weather warms up. He could go on a little bit of a hot streak, but I think his OPS right now is like 550. So he's been struggling, and they really need him to be a thumper in the middle of the order. And then just one guy I want to talk about that I think is sort of forgot here, because everything about this team is about how bad the rotation is, and that's fair to focus on. Colton Cowser is a really important part of this team in so many different ways. When he's in the outfield, he turns the outfield from being a below average defensive outfielder to an above average one. When he's in the lineup, he is the guy that sees the most pitches per plate appearance of anybody in the lineup. He has the pop to hit 4, and he has the plate discipline to hit leadoff. And also just for the vibes, which aren't great right now, just because how could they be great when you've been outscored 53-12 in the past week? He's somebody that keeps things light, and he's an important part of this team. And the fact that he's been out is pretty. It's been evident since he got injured.
Any idea how soon he's going to be back? Because I haven't heard that.
Yeah, we don't know. That the team loves to be pretty cagey on these things. My like mental guess is like June-ish, early June. I think the original timeline was 8 to 10 weeks when he got hurt, which was around April 1st. So I'm expecting sometime in June.
All right, well, let's talk about, it's all been doom and gloom in Baltimore. I get it, they're under 500 team. Is this Cedric Mullins' last chance with the Orioles? And if they don't turn this around, does he become a monster trade chip for a team who doesn't want to trade prospects, so they could trade some of the older guys?
Yeah, so if Cedric Mullins keeps playing like this, which is kind of vintage Cedric Mullins, 2021 Cedric Mullins, when he was a 30-30 guy, that's the way that he played in the first half in 2023 when he was this team's best hitter before he got hurt that year. And it's really the way that he played in the second half last year after he had a really tough first half. If he can keep this together for a full season and return to the type of guy that he was in 2021, this will almost certainly be his last year in Baltimore, because he's going to price himself out for, get himself presumably a 4 or 5 year contract, sort of like what Anthony Santander got, maybe a little bit more because Cedric Mullins has the ability to play a good plus center field defense. Now, is that going to happen? I do expect some regression here for Cedric Mullins. I don't think that that's any slight on him at all. He's just been so outstanding this season. It's a little bit surprising considering that we have a 3-year sample now from 22 to 24, where he was a slightly above league average hitter and a good defensive center fielder. A player like that, let's say he regresses back to being that, a 720 to 750 OPS guy with good but not elite center field defense, at least what the metrics would show. If he ends up being that, then I think that there's a possibility that this team looks at this and says, hey, this is an important piece for us. We don't necessarily have the prospects in the minors who are ready yet. Enrique Bradfield, Vance Honeycutt, those guys aren't exactly ready to be everyday center fielders, or they won't be next year. Could the Orioles look at that and say, okay, Cedric Mullins is worth a 2-year deal? And is that possible for Mullins to take something like that? I think that could be within the realm of possibility if he ends up being what he's been the past 3 years. But if he stays this hot, I think he's going to price himself out of Baltimore. To your second question, could they trade him at the deadline? Man, Orioles fans are close to rioting right now. And if that happened, I think Orioles Twitter would probably burn to the ground. I would not rule anything out because of how shrewd this front office is. If they get to the point where they conclude that they have no chance of making the postseason, would they trade Cedric Mullins? Potentially. Remember in 2022 when they were still quote unquote rebuilding, they were a couple games back of a wild card spot and they traded Jorge Lopez and Trey Mancini. And those trades worked out really well for them and got them important pitching prospects. But that did hinder their chances of making the playoffs that season. And then, what did we see the next year? We saw the Arizona Diamondbacks in a similar position, had just come off a rebuild. They acquire guys at the deadline, and then they go on a surprise World Series run. So nothing would ever surprise me with this team, but I would be a little bit surprised if they had to trade Cedric Mullins at the deadline.
A lot to keep our eye on for sure. Jacob, great information as always, incredibly prepared. We appreciate you being a part of Foul Territory today. You can catch him on Jays Calvin Meyer on X, and you can read him in the Baltimore Sun. All right, Foul Territory rolls on. We're coming back talking a little bit about the hot corner Jarren Duran conversation coming up.
If you want a razor that looks good, makes you look good, gets the shave done, and doesn't cost much,
Oh.
Is it nice?
That's a hairy John. And you can smell it too. Smell it, John. Smell it.
Oh, wow. What
After
is that?
See, that's Harry's. That's the shave gel.
You
I'm telling you, look. I mean, this.
you look scary, man.
It's the shot.
Fresh.
Now come
Come and get this. I don't want to touch this head anymore. Oh my God.
Soft it is.
That looks like
it is
German
soft.
engineered blades made
It
in their
is
own
soft.
factory that stay sharp longer.
I'm using the razor, and it does not. You can start to feel when it
Yeah,
gets dull. I mean, you guys only do like here and like up here.
true.
I'm doing acreage.
Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set is $10, but right now you can get it for just $6 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive link, harrys.com/foul for a $6 trial set.
This whole segment is for AJ Pierzynski. Roki Sasaki told the Dodgers that if they installed bidet-equipped Japanese-style toilets in the clubhouse, it would influence his decision to sign with them this past offseason. AJ concurs.
Do I? Are you kidding me? Alanna, we talked about this in Arizona. You've never had one. Here's mine. Thing opens up for you. Look at it. Light show. At night, it's the best. When you wake up in the middle of the night and you have to use the restroom, the toilet opens. It's heated seat for everyone that lives in cold weather. I mean, it does things that we can't talk about on television to you. So listen, if you don't have one, get one. They're a little expensive, but they are well worth it. And my wife and I, we have different toilets, so it's even better because she's not allowed to touch mine. She's not allowed to touch the remote. She's not allowed to touch the seat, nothing. It's all mine.
I'm sure your wife doesn't care that she's not allowed to touch your toilet, number one. Number two,
She cares. She cares.
good for you that you have 2 toilets in your bathroom, Mr. I played in the big leagues for a very long time. Erik, do you care about the bidet-equipped Japanese-style toilet, and how much of a factor do you think that was to get Sasaki to LA?
I don't care. I'm not like AJ. I let people touch my drum set, okay? So he's telling Lisa to not touch his drum set. I mean, a little factor, yes. I think this is the media running with something that is a little funny. But you know what? This is a difference between the Dodgers and other orgs. If this is going to get you the guy, just do it. What did it cost him? $50,000 for how many they put in? 5, 8, 9, something like that? Easy. Drop in the bucket.
Dice game made me get one.
Dice cream.
All right, guys, this is a serious topic, honestly. We like to have fun on the show, but this is important to talk about, too. Jarren Duran got into it with the fan during this yesterday afternoon's game in Cleveland after the fan told him he should have killed himself when he had the chance, per Will Middlebrooks, who was covering the game with Dave O'Brien and Jemai Webster on Nesson yesterday. The reason, for a variety of reasons, that this is problematic is that Jarren Duran recently, on the documentary that came out about the Red Sox last season, discussed his mental health and how he attempted to commit suicide. And thankfully for us, the attempt did not work. And so for the fan in Cleveland to say this to Jarren Duran is a level of low that I don't even know if I have the words for. You guys have been very prone to heckling and fans saying certain things to you in the stands. Some fan bases are worse than others, but this is, AJ, below the belt.
First of all, we were just talking about toilets in the break. This is the stuff that goes in the toilet, so we don't talk about, because for you to say this to somebody is just the worst thing you can say. Listen, this guy opened up about something that he's probably never told the world before. And then for a fan to say that to him, you're just not a good person. That's it. You're just not a nice person. And I know fans say, oh, we have the right, we pay tickets. But think about if this was your kid and you had a son and you were yelling this at your son. Would you do it? Probably not. Or if this was your son that got yelled at, how would you feel for them? And I guarantee you this guy wouldn't think it was a great idea. So I think this is horrible. I'm proud of Jarren Duran for coming out and standing up and saying what he said. This needs to be more of a spotlight. It's a big deal because everyone thinks, oh, playing in the major leagues and doing this and that is great. There are a lot of people that struggle with a lot of things that happened during this. So this was just awful, and I hope this guy gets a long, long ban for saying what he said. And also kudos to the Guardians fans that were like, it was this guy, and everyone pointing out. That was good for them.
Yeah, I thought a lot of people stepped up and did the right thing. The thing that people need to understand, and what even this guy who said this needs to understand, the reason Jarren Duran said this, that he went down this spiral, he had mental illness, but part of it was because of the things he was reading that people were saying about him. He was struggling in the big leagues. That's already enough. You're struggling. You have just negative thoughts about yourself. Then you add in mental illness. Then you add in your reading about what people are saying. People can be vicious. And if that is like, if that affects you, and then for this guy he came out and said this, he came out and said publicly that was happening. And then to go to that point, it's childish. It's sophomoric. It's whatever name you want to say. It's terrible. And I don't even want to bring the guy's face up. And I hate that we even have to talk about it, but kudos for Jarren Duran for stepping up. Mental illness is a disease that he has to fight and talk about with other people. And I'm sure he's helped people so far in just his short journey through this.
And Jarren Duran did come out and say, guys, that he was so thankful about the way that the security guard handled the situation. To AJ's point, the other Guardian fans that were saying this is a jerk, this is not emblematic and symbolic of the fan base that we are. But I think, and you two, of course, being male, would know more than I, it is very difficult as a man to come out and admit that you have mental health issues or that you're struggling with things, because men are supposed to be so strong, right? The superior species, and nothing is supposed to bother you, and don't cry and don't show weakness and those types of things. So for Jarren Duran to be able to publicly come out and say, you know what, I was struggling, and I was struggling so much that I thought the only solution to beat this thing was to not be here anymore. And again, I'll say it again, thank God that the suicide attempt did not work. But that's why men oftentimes, and women for that matter, don't say things about what's bothering them mentally. That's why people in the public eye don't want to say that they're struggling, because people see it as a weakness. And furthermore, I think it's the exact opposite. I'd like to know your take on that. AJ, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to you, Kratz. I think it's a sign of strength when you can admit, you know what, I need some help. I can't do this by myself.
Listen, couple things. In Major League Baseball, it is a macho job, and it's also a very masculine area that you are in that locker room. And I know they brought in women, and there's women reporters and women that work for the team, and they do a great job at everything, but it is still a hyper masculine environment. And so for somebody to admit this, the first thing that would pop to your head is, if I say this, is, how are my teammates going to take this? And how is the public going to take this? Oh, you're supposed to be Jarren Duran, the super tough guy, but you have these problems. Like Alanna said, had to be really hard for him to say this. And again, I applaud him for this. And I also applaud him for not going up in the stands and trying to beat this guy's rear end, because it had to be hard. Listen, there's been many times in my career where people say things, and it takes everything in your power. Did I say some stuff back that I shouldn't have? Of course. But you know how many times, there were times in your head where you were literally thinking, this is a guy I could go up, or a person. Sometimes it wasn't always gentlemen, but I could go up in the stands and I want to fight this person because of things they said, and they get personal and they take these attacks because they think they can. So also kudos to Jarren Duran for just saying, hey, pointing it out and saying, hey, this guy said this. And yes, he was mad, he was angry, but he handled it as well as he could have. This is just a bad situation. And like Kratz says, I'm kind of mad we have to even talk about it, because this shouldn't be something we're talking about.
I hope we can get to the point where people can see, if they want to use the term real man or a tough guy, I hope we can get to the point where it's okay. A real man can cry. A real man can share his feelings, because you're useless to everybody around you if you're going through something, because you're also going to be able to help the person next to you who's probably gone through the exact same thing. It's more common than you think. And in baseball, this is tough. I mean, this is a tough sport that is going to chew you up and spit you out. And he's an all-star last year, MVP of the all-star game. People are like, well, he's invincible. He's got huge muscles. He's got tattoos, all this stuff that on the outside looks like strength. But the real strength is the fact that he was able to come out and say the things that are bothering him, because it was deep, and it really got to the point of danger. And so kudos to him and anybody that's willing to step up and express their feelings.
Jarren Duran, we are proud of you, and more importantly, we are proud that you are here, and thank you for your strength in what you said. We appreciate it very much. All right, much more to come on Foul Territory. AJ and myself and Erik are back after this. We're going to talk a little bit about the Seattle Mariners. Adam Jude is joining us as FT rolls on. We'll be right back.
Todd Father, I love the way that modern technology has changed the way that we buy, sell, trade cards, even rip packs. They're called slab packs, and they're on Arena Club. No more shuffling through everything. The common cards are all over the place. Stuff's getting folded out and all messed up. Arena Club keeps it nice and tight in your digital showroom. And then when you want that card and you want to show it off, what do? You just let Arena Club know.
Let them know and grab it and take it with you. Show it off online. I think this is huge just because the fact that you talked about cutting the corners. You want to get a card that doesn't break or doesn't have a problem with it, go right to Arena Club. They have everything you need. Easy money right there for really, really good, exceptional cards.
After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your vault for safekeeping or trading and selling. Right now, 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul, code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase.
Y'all, the Pale Hose has some competition. Bob Nightingale on X said the Colorado Rockies get swept by the Cincinnati Reds and are now 4-23. That is 4 wins, 23 losses. They have lost 14 of their last 15. They are now ahead of AJ's Chicago White Sox's record pace, who set an MLB record last season with 121 losses. The White Sox were 5-22 after 27 games last season. AJ Pierzynski, is Chicago only going to hold the record for one season?
Can't the Rockies let us have anything? Can't they let the White Sox have any good history? Come on, Alanna. You're an ex-Rocky great.
You don't want this. You don't want this record, man.
Here's my thing. If I'm the White Sox, and this is a joke, but when they play the Rockies, the White Sox might have to throw a couple games so they can hold on to history, okay? I'm just joking. But this is crazy. And the problem is, the difference for me is the Rockies are in the NL West. The White Sox were in the AL Central last year, and they were awful. The Rockies, they got the Dodgers still coming, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Giants. It ain't getting any easier. So, we might have history 2 years in a row, but come on, let the White Sox fans have something to celebrate, at least for a couple of years.
Erik, they might win 20 games.
I'm going to take the over on that one, Alanna. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to say it's going to come down to the wire. At least they're going to be a lot more fun to watch than the White Sox were last year. The Rockies have some young talent that I like watching. I just turn it off after the 6th inning when the bullpen comes in.
You are the glass is half full guy. I like that. All right, Adam Jude, talking Mariners next. All right, we're back, and Adam is with us. Adam, great to be with you. Love the backdrop. Very professional, very nice. Adam does a great job covering the Mariners and the Hawks, of course, for the Seattle Times. So let's talk about these M's a little bit. Logan Gilbert, we'll start with him, Adam, has been diagnosed with a grade 1 right elbow flexor strain and placed on the injured list. Now, this is not something that Logan Gilbert is familiar with, that whole IL. How serious is this?
Yeah, I think the Mariners believe and hope that they've dodged a bullet here. I talked to Logan on Saturday right after he wrapped up his MRI, and he's encouraged. Obviously, he's frustrated. He's never been on the injured list before in his major league career. He wants to be out there for his team. He's confident in this team. He wants to be part of it. But this is obviously the best thing for him, the best thing for the team at this point. Shut it down for a couple of weeks. They'll reassess, see where he's at. I don't think the Mariners and Logan Gilbert are out of the woods entirely yet. I mean, yes, it's a grade 1 flexor strain, which is encouraging, but you just never know with elbows, right? If we've learned anything in this era of pitching, they're unpredictable. You don't know. So obviously the Mariners have their fingers crossed, hoping for the best with Logan Gilbert. He's going to be shut down for a couple weeks, and obviously you would expect at least 2-3 weeks of buildup after that if they deem he's healthy enough to return. But I think it is an encouraging update, at least at this point.
encouraging that everybody's flexor strain ends up being a UCL. I mean, let's like you said he was encouraged. Did you bring any not negativity, but the reality is that's normally a precursor to Tommy John, and this guy's never been hurt.
So, yeah, and you hate to put it this way, but, for a guy who has thrown as many innings as he has over the last 4 years and throws as hard as he does and throws as many splitters as he does, you wonder if it is a ticking time bomb. And again, maybe this is a precursor to something more serious, but the fact that it was a grade 1 and they were encouraged by the images that they saw, again, is why they're walking away at least a little bit encouraged. Again, maybe they'll reassess, take another image in 2 weeks, and they'll find out, it's not improving, and maybe we need to consider something more serious. But for what we know at this point, the Mariners are at least spinning a positive update on it.
I know it was just rumors, but now they're really glad that they didn't get rid of Luis Castillo when they were looking to shed payroll because of all the extra spending that they've been doing. Is there a need for them to maybe go and add some starting pitching if this doesn't turn around for them?
Yeah, certainly can't rule that out. With the Mariners and the way they're constructed right now, and the prospect system they want to have one of the best and deepest farm systems in baseball right now. So I fully expect them to be as active, if not more active, than any team come July. And we were obviously eyeing a middle of the order type bat if one is available at that point. But again, if George Kirby is not fully right at that point, if Logan Gilbert is still on the shelf, then yeah, they certainly have to look at some sort of proven starting pitching depth there. At the same time, we saw yesterday another Logan Evans, 23-year-old 12th round pick 2 years ago, comes up and makes his major league debut yesterday, pitches 5 solid innings against the Miami Marlins. He's another sort of hidden gem that the Mariners have found and developed, and looks like a pretty good prospect for them. I think they're going to let him go, give him a runway here, and see what he can do while Logan Gilbert is still on the mend. But certainly can't rule that out. Again, I do expect the Mariners to be fully active this summer. They expect to be in it. It's a wide open AL West. It's a wide open AL overall, and I think the Mariners are quietly expecting that they're going to be in it throughout the season here.
Adam, is Cal Raleigh the best catcher in baseball? That's the question. I picked him. We did a thing where we got to pick 3 players to start our team with, and he was one of my 3. So obviously I think he's, if not 1, he's 1 or 2. So is Cal Raleigh the best catcher in baseball?
I would defer to you on that, AJ, but I was saying a year ago at this time that, he's right there as the best two-way catcher in baseball. And now I don't even think you need to qualify it as two-way. I think he's right there. You obviously look at Will Smith and his track record with the Dodgers, Contreras in Milwaukee, Real Muto. Orioles obviously have a special one there too. But what Cal Raleigh is doing defensively, I think puts him over the top. Won the Platinum Glove last year in the American League, and then signing that contract. Just what he means to this pitching staff beyond just the defense, the way he commands this pitching staff. There's a reason these guys have been so good the past couple years. A lot of reasons these guys have been so good, but certainly Cal Raleigh is near the top of the list. These guys don't shake off Cal Raleigh, and if they do, they hear about it. And if they do, Cal Raleigh is not giving them another option at that point. It's actually pretty entertaining sometimes when some of the young pitchers try to shake him off or want something else. He's just not having it. So he's earned that trust. And now he's doing it with the bat consistently too, leading the majors, tied for the Major League in home runs. He's always had that slug. I think the goal for him this year offensively was to cut down on his strikeout rate a little bit, get on base a little bit more, be a tougher out with 2 strikes. And we are seeing that so far here in the first month. To me, he really has elevated himself into that next territory.
He's certainly making the most of that extension that they gave him right before the season started, Adam. I will see your Cal Raleigh. I'll raise you Andres Munoz. Is he the best reliever in baseball? We don't talk about him enough. Should we be?
Yeah, he's that's just his personality. He's really is one of the nicest guys. And in fact, as we talk right now, I think he's doing a charity event at a local animal shelter. He loves cats and he's raising awareness and doing something for cats here locally in Seattle. And he's just genuinely one of the nicest human beings I've been around. I have no problem acknowledging that. Just a genuinely sweet, likable, lovable guy. And then he can throw 100 miles per hour with a nasty sinker, and then maybe the best slider in baseball as well. He's not allowed to run here in his first 14 appearances of the season. You look at his baseball WAR, he's right there with the top of all pitchers, not just relief pitchers right now through the first month of the season. So, yeah, to me, a guy who's been underrated the last couple of years, probably because he's pitching in Seattle. But to me, he has absolutely elevated himself into that top-tier class of relievers.
Anytime we ever talk about Seattle's offense the last few years, we say they're strong up the middle. Cal Raleigh, J.P. Crawford, Julio Rodriguez. All three guys are signed to an extension. The first one was J.P. Crawford. Is he the catalyst for this team? I know he's hitting ninth, and so it's hard to be like a catalyst. When I watch this team, and I don't watch as much as you watch or people on the West Coast watch, but I watch a lot of games, I feel like when he's not in the lineup, when he's injured, like last year he was injured for part of the year, when he's out there, something about him and the way he runs around the field with energy, it makes me feel like he's the catalyst. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah. He won a Gold Glove, I think, in 2020, and the defensive metrics don't love him because I don't think he is particularly strong going to his right. Everything else, he makes every single routine play, and I don't think you can say that about anyone. And I'm not picking on Elly De La Cruz, but the Mariners played there last week. I saw Elly De La Cruz again, it's only 3 games, but I saw every play for 3 games. And I would take J.P. Crawford defensively in a heartbeat over Elly De La Cruz. I know he makes those miraculous catches and pop-ups and has all these highlight plays. J.P. Crawford is the steadiest shortstop I think I've ever seen at the major league level over a long period. He's the best I've ever seen coming in on ground balls. He makes that play every time. He makes it look easy. Those aren't easy. And then you add in what he's doing again offensively. He gets on base as well as anyone in the American League right now, over 400 on base. He's got a great eye. That's exactly what you want at the bottom of the lineup. He's not going to give you a ton of home runs, but I think he's playing a lot freer right now. I think he's learned from Edgar Martinez, Kevin Seitzer, just up the middle, opposite field approaches. That's who he is at this stage of his career. He doesn't need to drive the ball to the ballpark. Just be a tough out, be a tough at bat, get on base as much as you can. And he's really valuable in that regard, and especially valuable for this team doing that at the bottom of the lineup.
Adam, I hate to even mention this because it's just low-hanging fruit, it seems like, but they got rid of Scott Service last year, and we had just had Scott on. He was a great interview, and he knows the game inside and out. Did that make a difference, getting him out and having Dan Wilson come in? Because last month they were better. Now they've carried it over into this month, especially offensively. So does it make that big of a difference? And I don't want you to take a shot at all at Scott Service, but is it just the fact that maybe it was a different voice saying maybe the same thing but a different way?
Yeah, I think there is something to that. Again, Scott Service, I thought he was exactly what this organization needed at the right time. He really provided a ton of stability, got them to the playoffs in 2022, ended that pretty historic drought. And I think he was a great manager. Honestly, I think he was really underrated. I think he got a bad rap for some of his, bullpen decision-making stuff. Obviously, those things are easy to second guess for Monday morning quarterbacks. But I thought he did a really, really good job for this organization for a long time. That said, they just got to that point last August. It was 2 months of pretty bad baseball. They blew a 10-game lead, and I think we could all kind of see it coming. I didn't think it was going to happen when it did. But, to your point, I think a change of voice, a little bit of a change of tone sometimes can do teams wonders, and I think it did for the Mariners. Really what's happened is they've really just simplified things. I think of Dan Wilson as kind of the ultimate throwback type manager. He was, he played for Lou Piniella. You think of Lou Piniella and his style. Obviously, you think of him throwing bases and blowing up on umpires and all the drama. And he was a fun guy to be around in that regard. But he got the best out of his players every night, and I think that's what Dan Wilson took from Lou. That he just wants these guys to show up and compete every single night. Just win this pitch, win this at bat, win this game. We'll worry about tomorrow. And I think that's the right message at the right time for this team, especially for some of the young guys on the team. Julio in particular, just get in the box and compete. You don't have to worry about a specific pitch in a specific zone in a specific count, which is what the Mariners were doing. I felt like at times last year they got too deep in the woods, in the weeds offensively. And guys were thinking it too much in the box. You could almost see their heads spinning a little bit when they step in. Now we're seeing guys just line drive up the middle. If you get something hanging, drive it out of the ballpark, and it's working. again, I think they're third in baseball right now in home runs. You got Cal Raleigh, you got Jorge Polanco. We haven't mentioned his name yet. Off to a career start to his season here. And it is working. Again, I think Scott Servais was the right guy at the right time. And it does feel like the early returns with Dan Wilson he's the right guy at the right time to kind of help this team and this organization take that next step.
Adam, is this the time for the – oh, sorry. Go ahead, guys.
Oh, no, sorry. Another name that you didn't mention was Player of the Week last week, and Dylan Moore, who has been doing really well and consistent at bats like you're talking about, taking those line drives. Do you think, or I should say, who is most affected by Kevin Seitzer and Bobby Magianis coming in and making this change? Like, have you seen a drastic approach change where it's like not pull hook balls, take the ball to the opposite field?
Yeah, I put JP and Dylan Moore at the top of that list for sure. Dylan Moore, and I talked to him about this. I was like, when I think of Dylan Moore, I think of a straight pull a ball in the air hitter. He's a guy who doesn't have a ton of pop, but he's got good pop for a major league hitter and for a super utility type guy. He's kind of got the most out of has talent and athleticism, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way. Like, he's made himself a legit major leaguer. He won a Gold Glove last year. He's been super valuable for this team because he can virtually play every position on the field and then be a guy who crushes left-handers. This year, I think he went into spring training. They worked with him. Hey, you're strong enough, you're good enough to be able to hit the ball up the middle and hit it to right field too. And I thought it was telling in the first homestand. He hit a home run at T-Mobile Park in Seattle, 2 straightaway right field, something he'd never done in his career before. And then I think his first series on the road in San Francisco, he hit one out straightaway center field too. I'm like, okay, this is different. And you saw it start to click for him pretty quick, and it's carried over. And again, he's a guy who they feel comfortable enough where he could be an everyday guy at second base, maybe even third base, but he is so good. You can plug and play him anywhere. He's valuable coming off the bench. He's a great pinch runner, great pinch hitter. That's the type of guy you see the Dodgers employ for so long now and make best use of, really find that matchup advantage somewhere. And he provides just so much for the Mariners in that regard. And this is, again, I talk about a guy off to a career year. A perfect time for him. He's going to be a free agent after this year. And I think he's making himself some money too. So good for Demo.
Adam, before we let you go, is this the year that the Mariners should shine? I mean, the Athletics aren't doing anything. Houston isn't the same powerhouse. The Rangers aren't in anyone's top power rankings or anything like that. Is this the year? The Angels are angeling.
Yeah, Angels are, aren't they? Yeah, again, I think we all thought it'd be the Astros, the Rangers, and the Mariners kind of jockeying for position in the AL West. It's played out that way so far. Mariners had a rough sort of 10-game stretch, 12-game stretch to start the season. Since then, they've been one of the best teams in baseball, and I think that's their expectation. You know, I know people were frustrated, Mariners fans were frustrated about their lack of moves and lack of spending in the offseason. And frankly, I think that was all legitimate. But I think the Mariners were quietly pretty confident that, you know, if a healthy Jorge Polanco is able to bounce back, if they can get Julio just kind of on track a little bit earlier this year, and I think there are some signs, despite his low batting average, I think there's some signs that Julio could get right sooner than he typically does. And then they're pitching. Obviously, that they're not as healthy as they have been right now, but I think they're pretty confident in just their operation, no matter who they have out there, that they're going to get some results pitching-wise, pitching in Seattle in particular. So, yeah, I fully expect the Mariners to be there at the end. Are they the best team in the American League right now? Are they going to be the best team in the American League come September? I don't know, but I think they're going to be in the mix, and I think Jerry DiPoto has proven that he's not afraid to take a big swing. Come July, he got Luis Castillo a few years ago. He got Randy Arozarena last year. He will deal a big-time prospect if it's the right person at the right time. And to me, it makes them a really fascinating follow, if nothing else.
Okay, 2 things. One, nobody can hit in Seattle, so you're giving them way too much credit because, I mean, eventually the batter's eye is going to go slanted, and we're going to have to hear about, the Mariners can't hit. I mean, all of a sudden they can hit. It's weird how you change your approach and stop trying to hit home runs on every pitch in a park that's not conducive to home runs. Strange how that works out. But also, Julio Rodriguez, you mentioned it. Why does he always get off the slow starts? Every year it's like, we need Julio to get started. I mean, and then they're like last year, he changed his swing and he did this. And why you find something that works, just stick with it. and go into it with the next season? Why do we got to try to change everything? And why is it cold? Is it what is it with Julio that it takes him till May or June to get going?
Yeah, I think if I had the answer, I just don't. The Mariners clearly don't have a great answer for that either. You can check my email inbox right now too. Mariners fans are asking the same thing, AJ. I'm hearing it all the time. I think the frustrating thing for the Mariners and Mariners fans is it feels like the same thing over and over with Julio at this time of year. Just a lot of chase, a lot of sliders off the plate, and he's not making those adjustments. I will say, talking to people, even talking to Julio a little bit, to me, he does feel like he's in a better headspace right now than he has been early the past few seasons. He's hitting the ball harder than ever, particularly early in the season, like a significant jump, 2 miles per hour average exit velo. His BABIP is really low right now for a guy with his athleticism, his speed. I just can't imagine his BABIP is going to stay around 220 the entire year. So we're used to seeing him pick it up after the All-Star game. And like I said, I think there are some real signs, particularly his spike in his walk rate right now, that breakout's going to happen a little bit sooner. Again, Mariners fans just going to have to be patient. We're all going to have to be patient until it comes, but he's too good to stay down this long, if that makes sense.
All right, Adam, appreciate the insight. Great stuff. Appreciate you coming on Foul Territory for the first time. You're a Foul Territory newbie. Hope to have you on again. You can catch Adam and read his stuff on the Seattle Times. We appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, coming up here on Foul Territory, we're talking some injuries. And yes, they do suck. Well, this was interesting. The grounds crew for the Washington Nationals almost lost one of their own, you guys.
Ouch. At least they stopped. But at least they stopped it finally. And
Look at
poor Jeff
McNeil.
McNeil's like, that could have been me. I'd have ran in a little quicker. This is bad. It's funny because he didn't get hurt, but I don't know. You can't keep going, right? It's like a speed bump.
You got to get the guy out of there.
No, but one time I've told this story. We were in A-ball and a guy got stuck and they had to cut the tarp to get him out because they're afraid he would suffocate. We're in West Michigan.
No.
True story. They cut the tarp in half to get him out. He was in the middle. They thought they were worried he was going to die. I don't know. I don't know. They cut the thing in half. And it wasn't hot. It was early in the year. I don't know. It was weird, but I'm glad the guy's okay.
I assume you can just crawl out, but my favorite part, if you rewatch it, when he gets off to the end, the guy on the end who is not pushing anything, there's so many people, when he gets off to the end, he just he shoos him aside. You see him now, he's all the way to the right, and they stop. This guy's not doing anything the whole time, but when he gets up, you'll see it at the end of the video. When he gets up, it's from the other angle. He shoos him away, ugh. How could you? Yeah, how could you? We're doing things. Here he is. Watch. It's this guy. It's not doing anything. He's like, get out of there. Save your life. I don't know.
I feel like this happens more than we get to see. Because guys trip. People trip. They're tripping.
People trip. They're not. They should have players. They should have players do this one time. Except not with cleats on.
It's
harder than you think.
Colorado, how many times the players had to go out there and put the tarp out there because it's windy and snowing and
Shane Victorino did it, yeah.
Colorado's probably not the the poster child for what you want to do.
The gold standard?
With the gold standard of what you want to do in anything right now. That's the front office,
not the grounds crew. They have a great
No. Mark Rasmussen is the best.
Front office.
Raz is the best. Absolutely the best.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So this went sideways quite quickly. The shoe fly is the best. By the way, we don't even really know where the tarp is in Los Angeles. That's neither here nor there. Injuries suck when we come back. Guys, I had a moment of panic yesterday when Tyler Glasnow left the game after one inning, and he left the game with what was called right shoulder discomfort. This bothers me. Fabian Ardaya, who does a great job with the Athletics, said that Dave Roberts said that Tyler Glasnow landing on the L is certainly a possibility. If the Dodgers say somebody is certainly a possibility, you're going to the IL.
Yeah, they use the IL better than any other team. That's one thing the Dodgers do, and they have the depth to do it. But it sucks. Listen, it just sucks for Glasnow. This is the thing with him. He's so talented. He's such a great interview, and he's such a great guy that it just sucks that he just keeps happening. It was cramps. Remember the outing before? He had some cramps, and now he's got a shoulder thing, and they already have Snell down. They have Kershaw down. Gonsolin's down. I mean, Trinan's down. It's like, geez, but then they just find someone else that comes up and does a good enough job to keep them winning. So I feel bad for Tyler, but the Dodgers will figure it out because
but how do they figure this out, Erik? Because you look at the fact that the Dodgers were only supposed to be without Blake Snell for 2 starts. He hasn't even thrown off a mound yet, so we don't know when Blake Snell is coming back. You have Glasnow, who is probably going on the IL. You have Yamamoto and Sasaki, who only pitch once a week. Kershaw is not available to come off the 60-day until May 18th. Gonsolin is on his way back. So what do you have right now? Dustin May and a bunch of AAA guys?
I mean, I wouldn't put the other guys as AAA guys. I mean, you kind of glossed over the fact that those other guys, they're not going to make their starts. They're going to have to piecemeal it together. People are going to say, 6-man rotation because they have Yamamoto and Sasaki in there. It's going to ultimately be a 7 to 8-man rotation, not consistently, but knowing you're going to get 25 starts at max out of your 2 healthiest pitchers right now. Dustin May didn't throw last year, so his innings are way down. It's capped. I mean, I don't even know how many he threw the year before that, dealing with the esophagus and the Tommy John. But this is about injuries suck. And anytime a player gets hurt, it sucks. The biggest loss in all of baseball and probably all of professional sports is time on the injured list. Whatever every league calls it, it doesn't matter. Time on the injured list. If there is a team, we talk about all the time, if you would give one pitcher, the ball for Game 7 of the World Series, one batter for the 9th inning of a tie ball game in the World Series, if you give one organization the golden ticket to say, you know what, who's going to figure out how to curtail these injuries? Dodgers are it. Dodgers are it because they're going to exhaust this.
Yeah, but the problem is they've had more than anybody. They've had more than anybody.
I'm not saying
they haven't figured it out. They've actually gotten worse, I think. And by the way, this is the time, Alanna, you're a Dodger. We all know Dodgers territory. Dodgers love, you bleed blue, all that stuff. This is the time for a guy named Bobby Miller to step up.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying with the thing that Erik was saying is that I said they're AAA guys. They are AAA guys because when you have Bobby Miller come up who can't get out of in between his ears for whatever reason, I think Bobby Miller would be great in the bullpen. Justin Wroblewski hasn't really panned out as far as when he's been given the opportunities. Landon Knack hasn't panned out when he's been given the opportunities. And if you have your main starters, the guys, the big guns that you signed this offseason, previous off seasons, to give them massive contracts, when those guys go on the IL, you need these other guys when given the opportunity to shove, and they haven't shoved. I guess that's what I mean by AAA guys. You're going to have a lot of starts having to be filled by guys that may not necessarily have the stuff on a consistent basis to be at the big league level.
I would agree with that.
It's time. I agree, but it's time. It's time for Bobby Miller. How long have we heard about Bobby Miller? Bobby Miller, he's the next great. He's the next great. In the last couple of years, he hasn't been able to. Now, whatever it is, it's time for them to figure this out because we keep saying the Dodgers have the depth, but the Dodgers also have more injuries than anybody, especially pitching-wise, and they have big injuries. It's not like they have 2 weak things. I mean, they have guys with shoulders. They have guys with elbows. It's an epidemic. And I think we saw early in the year, Dave Roberts and Mark Pryor said, we need to start figuring this out. Because I don't care how much depth you have, year after year after year, this eventually is going to catch up to you. Now, they won the World Series with none of their big guns basically healthy and where they wanted them to be. They still figured it out and won the World Series.
That's how good. Yeah, that's how good they are. And to me, when you say these guys got to step up, what we're talking about, the narrative with the Dodgers was they have 8, 9, possibly 10-man rotation. This is why when people ask, if you took the Dodgers or the field, you take the field. Mm-hmm. I'm not counting the Dodgers out by saying that. I'm saying the game is tough. Staying healthy, the way that guys pitch on the mound right now is really tough. The way that guys throw the ball at 100%, and there's Twitter pages that everybody follows, and it's all about velo, building velo, throwing a heavy ball, and the next thing is coming, whatever that is, everybody throws hard. Organizations that play deep into October and they do all that stuff, guys break down. It's just part of it. It's part of it. The Dodgers play deep into October every year. Guys are going to break down. Their depth is going to be tested. I just didn't think it was going to be tested this early. I thought it was going to be tested in hey, we'll give Yamamoto a blow. We'll bring Bobby Miller up. Hey, we'll give Sasaki a blow. We're going to bring Landon Knack in. Not crap. We need Landon Knack in. Blake Snell, who has been, for the most part, a picture of health, is down. Now we're losing Glasnow for his few starts. It's tough, and this is the game. This is baseball. It is tough to stay healthy, especially the way that they play it now.
Yeah, it's problematic, and I think the depth we were all talking about was really more for the second half of the season when we assumed that Kershaw was going to be a full go, when we assumed Ohtani was going to be back. So there's certainly some question marks when it comes to the starting rotation. We'll see how they manage it. All right, coming up on Foul Territory, the great Katie Woo joins us. Of course, she does a great job covering the Cardinals. She is co-host of Card Territory. She's going to talk to us about, hey, Nolan Arenado, is he getting traded? I feel like we talk about that every single day. We'll be right back. AJ and Eric, Ken Rosenthal and I talked about this the other day on Fair Territory, and the Angels were actually our dorks of the week, or at least they were mine because of the planning. AJ, you and I think talked about this too. The Angels, who chose to play a night game at home on Thursday in Anaheim instead of playing an afternoon getaway game, didn't get into Minneapolis until 6 a.m. They played 12 hours later, and then they got shellacked by the Twins 11-4. I don't know if they would have won had they not had this schedule, but the point is they absolutely got boat raced. Again, what are the Angels doing?
Not only did they get boat raced, they got swept the whole weekend by a team that was playing awful. And the Angels were kind of doing all right. Listen, I said it when we talked about this, Alanna. This only hurts your team. Now, you can say whatever you want about the visiting team, and there's teams that are more notorious. Anaheim's one of the teams that does this a lot. Sends you on night games before you have to travel back east. It sucks. But to do it, what they don't understand is it hurts your home team. If the Angels were staying at home, you're like, okay, it just sucks for the away team. But to do this to your own team for what? To sell 5,000 more seats? Maybe? And then have them go on the road and get swept? I'm glad Mike Trout came out and said something, because he's the only person it seems like anybody out there listens to.
Before they changed the schedule in the minor leagues, this was a very minor league thing to do. You'd play a 4-game set. The third game would be the SpongeBob SquarePants day game where all the kids come into town. And then getaway day would be Friday because the series would wrap on a weird schedule and you never had off days. They're not having a day game on a Friday in a minor league park because you know what? The minor leagues isn't about winning. So that is a brutal call by the Angels to have a getaway night game when you don't even have an off day the next day. And baseball players aren't soft for that. That's real. And the ownership or whoever made this decision set their team up for not having success this weekend.
Kratz, how many times?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, Kratz, how many times did you have like 4 a.m., 3 a.m. buses in the minor leagues to fly? I mean, I remember when the PCO, we'd have like 3:30 a.m. buses after a night game, and then we'd fly to God knows wherever, from Fresno to Memphis across the country. Oh, by the way, you're playing. There were times where our equipment didn't show up. There were times where our stuff didn't show up.
You got to share.
Oh, we had to play we played a game one time where we had to use the other team's equipment.
I mean, you can expect that, I guess, in the minor leagues, but in the major leagues, that's just absolute bush league. All right, Katie Woo coming up, co-host of Cardinal Territory, joins us talking cards next. And there she is, Katie Woo. Always happy to have her on Foul Territory. Of course, you can catch her doing all things Cardinals for The Athletic, and she is the co-host of Cardinals Territory. You can check them out on X at Card Territory. Katie, great to be with you always. I guess it's like just the question du jour. Nolan Arenado, is he getting traded by the deadline just based on how things are going right now?
Yeah, I feel like I've been answering this question since last October, which is possibly an indictment on the Cardinals, but we'll let that one slide for now. Great to be back with you all. Even AJ makes an appearance. How lucky am I? Let's talk a little bit about Nolan Arenado. Big series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Saved the game on Friday with a play only he can make, getting the out at home to preserve a tie in the eighth, the walk-off homer on Saturday. Cardinals beat the Brewers in the series. Now, the question about Nolan Arenado is going to be just how much longer is he in St. Louis? And that is a question that seems impossible to answer. And the reason for that is because it's going to depend on what the team does. The Cardinals are 12-16. I will say, not a good record, but I think they're better than what the record shows. In the 28 games they've played, 18 have been decided by 3 runs or fewer. So they've just been on the losing end of a lot of late inning games. Their bullpen has been a problem. Nolan Arenado's play has been much better. That's his 3rd homer of the season here. Defense looks good. His mindset is much better. He's playing a better quality of baseball than we've seen over the last 2 years. So if we're going by the way that Arenado looks at the plate and how he's been on the diamond for the first month, yes, I think you're getting a better version of him that we saw in 23 and 24. However, the Cardinals play in a division where if you hover around 500, you're still considered in it. And I think we're going to go down to the wire for the trade deadline to see what they're going to do. My gut feeling tells me, Alanna, that if these St. Louis Cardinals are around 500 and somewhat in contention for a playoff spot, I do not think John Mozeliak in his final year as president of baseball operations is going to just hang in the towel, right? I think he's going to look to add incrementally. Trading away a future Hall of Fame third baseman wouldn't necessarily seem to fit that plan, but I really think Arenado's future hinges on how the team looks over the next few months.
Really? He would go back from all this talk and wasting all of Katie Woo's time always asking about, oh, is Arenado going to get traded? Oh, he got traded, and the team is willing to pick up the money. Wait, no, he's not going to the Astros. He doesn't want to. Is there a way that they can convince Nolan, or is Nolan now just like, crap, I had to stay here the whole time? They kind of still like me, but I'm not really like the leader. They have young guys. Do they have to convince him to take something that he wouldn't have taken this offseason?
I don't think so, and I don't think you can convince him to do that. I think Nolan at 34 years old knows exactly what he wants in his career, and he's also understands where he is in his playing arc, that where he ends up next, if it's not in St. Louis, is most likely going to be the last organization he plays for. That's why he identified those 5 teams as maybe I'd consider them. Remember, he never said yes. But he knew exactly what he was looking for. And you have to look at where baseball is in general right now. You're seeing a lot of teams right around the 500 mark. And I think that's just kind of, unless you're the Dodgers or the Mets, you're kind of along the second tier of teams that are, okay, they're good enough. You look at the NL Central, for example, you have the Cubs and the Brewers. Brewers are coming off, a really grueling road trip, but they're good. Are they good enough to contend? Probably. Are they good enough to compete with the Mets and the Dodgers? Probably not. I'm not sure if there are many teams outside of the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Mets right now, as currently constructed, that can give Arenado a guaranteed place to play in the playoffs. That's what he's chasing after. He wants to play in the postseason. He said that since his career, he's played in just 8 playoff games throughout his career. So I don't think he's just going to jump ship for the sake of jumping ship. I think if he was, he would have done it already. Credit to him, though. In situations like this, the relationship can sour, right, between the player and the organization when you publicly say that you would like to get rid of said player. I think he and the Cardinals, both Ollie Marmol and John Mozeliak, have done a nice job in making sure that this stays professional. He's been a total pro since spring training, and that's carried into what has been not exactly the best April for the Cardinals either.
All right, a couple things, Katie. 1, you're welcome for me being here, so you're welcome. And 2, the Brewers are about to play the White Sox, so they could get hot here. And you forgot to mention the Cubs. The Cubs are pretty good, so the Cardinals probably aren't going to catch the Cubs in that division. But that's okay. They're off to a nice start for them. We also forgot to mention Sonny Gray didn't want to be traded either, so he's kind of there. He has the no trade. So it's not just Nolan, and I know Nolan's been the big story, but Sonny Gray also has said, I want to stay here. So there's more to it. My question is Lars Nootbaar has been off to a great start. We're talking Nolan, but let's talk Lars Nootbaar. We haven't even brought him up, and he's probably their best hitter on this team.
He's definitely, I think, one of the best leadoff hitters in baseball. I mean, has almost 30 walks. He's hitting the ball well. He's playing really well at home, and he's turned into, I mean, he was always a solid outfielder, but the work that he's put in with outfield coach John Jay has turned him even to a better left fielder. I like what Lars Nootbaar does at the top of the plate. He has or the top of the lineup. He says he describes it as an old school mentality when leading off the game, where the designation is to see as many pitches as possible. What makes Lars Nootbaar so good at that is that he has some elite plate discipline. He has a great approach. He says sometimes new hitting coach Brant Brown will get mad at him for being too selective, but it seems to work. He just opened he's now opened a game 10 times with a leadoff walk. That's exactly what you want from your leadoff hitter. So we knew coming into this, AJ, that this was going to be a big year for guys like Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker. Lars Nootbaar fits that mold. Also, they need to know if they can build around him. The biggest question for him coming into the season was, can he stay healthy? Knock on wood, the first month he's done that well. Now we're seeing him develop into, I think, one of the more underrated leadoff hitters in the National League because he works the count so well, sees a lot of pitches. He's not overly splitty. He can hit both lefty and righties, and he has that power. He's just becoming a prominent player for the Cardinals at the top of the lineup.
I know it's only 1 month and it's about 100 at-bats, 100 plate appearances. Has Jordan Walker kind of taken a step back in the sense of he had the hit tool, and now the hit tool's kind of not there this year? Has it been cold weather? Is there something different? Is it just who Jordan Walker is at this point in his career?
They're fair questions, and there's going to be a lot of focus on Jordan Walker and what he can do offensively. I will say before we get to that, he's made such strides defensively in right field. It goes back to the work that John Jay is putting in. He's a completely different outfielder in right field. From the plate perspective, he's still kind of the same hitter in terms of that low slider away from the zone. He's chasing, and his front hip's flying open, and he hasn't been able to get the ball up in the air, which has been the main focus for him. He started out strong, then slumped a little bit. He's in the middle of a slump right now, but this is what the Cardinals wanted to happen in a way, right? You want to see if players can struggle in the major leagues and then overcome, adjust, adapt, and figure out a way to be productive again. So it's not necessarily the fact that he's struggling right now. He's supposed to. Him and Gorman are supposed to struggle as they work through the major leagues. It's how can he overcome it? So yes, we're 1 month into the season. Certainly you'd like better offensive production from Jordan Walker. But what I think is more important from an organization long-term standpoint is giving him enough runway. We've talked about this a lot. Enough runway to figure out if he can adjust and succeed on top of his struggles. And that's where they are right now with him.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Phil Maton. Obviously, growing up a Cards fan, now on the team. Have you had conversations with him about that and just how it's been going for him?
Phil's been great. He's been a great asset for this Cardinals team. It's nice having a veteran presence in a relatively young bullpen. It brings the question, why didn't the Cardinals just sign him sooner? I mean, for $2 million, right, you're getting a very established setup man that has a lot of experience, takes the ball every day. And by not signing him a little bit sooner, Phil Maton's a pro, you know this, Alanna. He's always going to take the ball. That's why he has this characteristic as being so durable. But because he didn't start a true throwing program until the middle of spring when the Cardinals signed him in mid-March, he's still technically behind a little bit, although he would never say that. So the Cardinals are monitoring his usage, and there have been days where he just isn't available because they don't want to blow his arm out. But I certainly think Phil Maton enjoys being here. He's been a nice compliment, some nice consistency in a bullpen that hasn't really had much. Between him, Helsley, and Kyle Leahy, those are pretty much the only arms the Cardinals feel comfortable using right now. But I can't imagine what this bullpen would look like without him. It would not be good.
Katie, what's going on with Wilson Contreras? First base, I know he's there. He's not swinging the bat terribly well right now. What's going on there? Herrera's been a nice find for him behind the plate. What's the story with Wilson Contreras?
Well, talk about another guy who didn't want to be traded. He specifically said, I want to stay in St. Louis and be a part of this movement. And Ollie Marmol over the last week praised Contreras for how he handled the start of the season. He slumped heavily, was probably the Cardinals' worst hitter, which I don't think any of us would have predicted for the first 2-3 weeks of the season. And he was consistent in his energy. He even applauded himself for not tearing out a bat rack. He said, usually I probably would have caused some damage to some of the equipment in the clubhouse, but he kept a level head, and he's really showed these young guys how to adjust to circumstances that aren't necessarily ideal. He looks like a pretty solid first baseman, very athletic over there. I know he's played there before, but certainly not as the everyday first baseman. Now it's about finding a way for him to be a little bit more consistent offensively, but he's turned a page there. Look, the Cardinals are all about the youth movement, and they have some catching depth they'd like to see. Ivan Herrera's on the injured list, but he should start a rehab assignment as early as Thursday. Pedro Pajes has done a nice job filling in. They really like how defensively sound he is and how he prepares, but they would not be able to know this if they still had Contreras behind the plate. So they move him to first base. You open up that pipeline for Herrera and Pajes, Jimmy Crooks, a catching prospect in the minors as well. And you keep Contreras there because you hope that his bat will play now that he's not catching, 135 games behind the plate. Didn't start out that way, but it certainly looks a lot better. He's slowly heating up for them offensively.
Did Mo drop the ball not trading Ryan Helsley this offseason because his value couldn't be higher? If he has another year like he did last year, then it's just another year with less control. Was the value for him not out there? Was it something that they were not willing to get rid of him because he's in the last year of his contract? And look at some of the teams right now. Devin Williams is struggling for a team that traded a lot of pieces to get him. Teams want closers, let alone an eighth inning guy.
Oh, it's not that there wasn't a demand for him. There was a very high demand for him. You think about the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen, they could certainly use someone like Ryan Helsley, and they wanted him. However, the Cardinals were very clear in November. John Mozeliak said, we are not trading him. It certainly would have to be blown away for that to happen. And they ultimately, I guess, decided that would not be the case. It came as a surprise to most of the industry, including Helsley himself, who said he expected to be traded. He hoped that he wasn't, but he kind of saw the writing on the wall and was definitely surprised, but in a good way, to be in St. Louis for another season. It's a great question on if they capitalized on his trade value or not. I will say he's not getting a ton of closing opportunities right now because the Cardinals haven't had a ton of save situations. Their segue from the 8th to the 9th has not gone according to plan with their setup men. You're right about Helsley's value being super high. Bullpens, relievers, closers are volatile. The consistency there varies from season to season. It's the nature of the job. I still think Helsley's an elite arm. Obviously, you have triple digits and that wipeout slider, like that will play. It's just a matter of if they can use him. I, too, was surprised he was not traded, but you think about where this Cardinals bullpen is, and you think about how they've stated how they want to compete despite the transition year. Who else is closing games for them right now? Kyle Leahy? I mean, they barely have enough bullpen arms to cover them currently. So I don't know how this club would have closed out the 9th without him, but it's certainly fair to question if they should have moved Helsley sooner.
Katie, certainly it's going to depend on where they're sitting around the trade deadline, but they didn't do a ton of stuff this offseason coming into the 2025 campaign. Would you imagine if they're in the thick of it that they will do something, and what would the target be? And do you think Fedde is a trade piece?
I think so. The Cardinals don't have a ton of starting pitching depth, but they do have their 2021 first-round pick, Michael McGreevy, who had a great spring training and was unfortunately the odd man out when it came to the Cardinals, who are kind of using a 5.5-man rotation right now. Anyway, but if the Cardinals get to a point at the trade deadline where they're not in contention, they have plenty of pieces that are in their final deals before free agency ready to go, including Eric Fedde, Steven Matz. He'll make a spot start for them on Wednesday. He's thrown the ball really well in that hybrid role between the rotation and the bullpen. Miles Michaelis, that's still a lot of money to move, but he kind of fits that mold for me if he can continue improving. They have a ton of guys that they can maybe offload. Maton's up there, Helsley too. So we'll see. At the same time, like we talked about earlier, if the Cardinals are in it come July, I can see John Mozeliak adding incrementally. Nothing crazy. Keep in mind, this is not his team after the season ends. It's Chaim Bloom's team. And the last thing the Cardinals are going to do is tack on contracts or promise money to someone where the front office is changing over, right? So I think the Cardinals will be so fascinating to watch over the first half because it's really going to dictate the inflection point of their franchise. Is this going to have to be a total full rebuild like they really don't want it to be? Or do they have enough parts to kind of make a run and salvage this? And maybe this transition year isn't as bad as it first seemed.
Oof. Katie, do you know where the Cardinals rank 14th in this year in Major League Baseball?
Give it to me. What you got?
Attendance for the Cardinals. That is something that we never thought. They're always top 5, at least top 10. They're 14th, and they've had the smallest crowds in the history of New Busch Stadium. Are the fans saying we can't believe that we're having to go through a rebuild? Because that's one thing the Cardinals were so good at. They always were. Now, there were some ups and downs, but they were always kind of, hey, we're going to be decent enough. And then for them to come out this year and say, basically, we're just in a reloading kind of year? Are the fans saying, man, we need to see the DeWitts and the ownership spend some money because we expect you to win, or at least try?
It's the show me state, AJ. You know this about Cardinals fans. They're very passionate and they have a certain standard of excellence for their baseball, which is deserved. When you're the St. Louis Cardinals, you should play to a certain standard. And clearly, Cardinals fans feel like they've fallen off that mark. I will say on Friday, it was a pretty nice night, around 75 degrees, Brewers in town, and that stadium was half empty, and it was jarring to see the attendance this year. I think the Cardinals have done a nice job in trying to bring fans to the ballpark. They've implemented new concert series after games. They have happy hour deals on Friday night games. But ultimately, what's going to get people back in the stands is winning ball games. And I think you're seeing Cardinals fans saying, okay, we've had 2 back-to-back disappointing seasons. Most of our star marquee players are gone. There is no Yachty. There is no Albert, no Wainwright, no Goldie. You keep Arenado, but only because you had to. You tried to move him. And there's no direction for this club. It kind of feels like baseball heaven is more like baseball purgatory at the moment from a fan perspective, because there's just no clarity on the direction they want to go. They said they want a transition season, but they still want to win games. I do think that's possible to do both, but it sends a murky message to the fan base. I will say this about Cardinals fans. AJ, you know this as well. If they win, I think the city will come out and support them. But I think the Cardinals fans are sending a message to the front office and ownership, like, this has fallen below our standard of baseball here, and it needs to get better before we consider coming back to the ballpark.
Yeah, the Cardinal way. They're showing their true opinions on how things are going. Katie, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. And don't forget, guys, you can keep your tabs on Arenado and the Cardinals this season by following Cardinal Territory, hosted by Katie Woo and Trevor Rosenthal on YouTube, and Card Territory on X. Katie, thanks so much. We appreciate it very much. All right, guys, time now to revisit our Friday locks. I got to tell you, we were 0 for 4. We did not do well on Friday. Eric lost, I lost, Pap lost, and Cameron lost. So maybe it was because AJ wasn't on the show, Scott wasn't on the show, but we went 0 for. So that's not good. So you can take a look at where we're sitting in terms of our money bags right now, and it's not good. I've got $0. I'm the only one. I guess zero's better than Eric down $3.92 and AJ down $15.80. Pap is up $3.21 and Cameron Maben's up a solid $25. But that's not really great, guys.
It's early. It's early, Alanna. Listen, I've been through the struggles before, okay? I've been through these struggles before, and I came out on top last year. Stick with me, people. Stick with me. We'll get hot, okay? I'm not going to get traded like Nolan Arenado or Ryan Helsley. I'm going to get hot, so stick with me, people.
All right, sounds like a true gambler. Just stay with me. Stay with me, I promise. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. And Eric, do you have anything to say for yourself in terms of your loss?
No, it was my fault. I got greedy. I had the lock early, and I went with the Dodgers Pirates, and I got burned by Enmanuel Valdez, who drove in a run, hitting in the 4 spot against Yamamoto. So the matchup was good. It's okay. We'll stay the course.
I don't even know who Enmanuel Valdez is, so I'm going to go ahead and say I agree with you on that. Eric, what's your lock for Monday, April 28th? What's your lock here, my friend?
I'm going run line on a Monday. I'm going run line, the Rangers. I think it's paying out at either plus 180 or plus 165. I got the Rangers winning by more than 1.5 runs.
Okay. And Eric said he's winning. What is it? More than 1.5 runs, you said, Eric?
Yes.
That was
yeah, so it's run line. It's called the run line.
Run line.
Texas,
See, I'm learning.
Texas minus 1.5. Hey, we're still here. We're learning together.
All right. AJ, your lock for today, sir.
I'm going to parlay because I always do parlays.
Okay.
I'm doing over 9 Yankees Orioles because it's Will Warren and Sagano, and I think both those teams are due to score some runs. The Yankees always seem to score 1 million runs in Baltimore. And then I'm going under 16.5 outs for Devin Williams of the Guardians. He's only been in the 6th inning, I think, once this year. So I feel like the Guardians will run to their bullpen.
All right. Better Than Box Scores is coming up next. Guys, we're up and down on that big league AAA train. The Braves have optioned Jarred Kelenic to the minors. Eddie Rosario is replacing him on the roster. Now, you remember Eddie Rosario was DFA'd by the Dodgers when Shohei Ohtani came back from paternity leave, and it looks like he has another opportunity with the Braves. They also DFA'd right-hander Zach Thompson to open a roster spot. Also, right-handed pitcher Ian Anderson was added to the roster, and right-hander Davis Daniel was optioned to AAA. Your thoughts on Kelenic just not seemingly able to get it going at the big league level, AJ, over a consistent period of time?
That's it. And him being sent down is not him because he didn't run the ball out, which we beat to death last year. It's just the fact he struggled. Okay. And they also have Alex Verdugo, who's come over and has been really good since he got there. So there's just not a lot of places for him to play. They can use Eddie Rosario. He's a guy they know very well. He was a World Series for him here a few years ago. So this is, people are going to say, oh, it's because he didn't run the ball out. It has nothing to do with that. They just need him to go to AAA, try to figure some things out, and possibly be back. I think the interesting move is Ian Anderson coming back. Ian Anderson is on the Jesse Chavez train. He goes to a different team. He comes back. Jesse Chavez comes back. It's like, man, there's just, I don't know. The Braves find people they like that they've had before, and they bring them back. Braves, guess what? I haven't retired. I'll come back for a little while.
Don't do it. I was looking it up. Don't have AJ back. He's done. He's done. It's okay. He's cooked. He's cooked, as the kids say. I can't believe Ian Anderson. I can't believe Jesse Chavez got DFA'd. Like, these are all moves that I'm like, wow. Eddie Rosario coming back. Jesse Chavez coming back. Like, the Braves are moving and shaking some things around, and just part of that is Kelenic. I mean, I think this is ultimately the big leagues. If you don't produce in the big leagues, you will get fired. You will get sent down to AAA, and they'll try somebody else. Some people's window is a lot shorter than other people's window, and you're on a team that has World Series aspirations. You got to produce, and those guys haven't produced yet.
Yeah, that's just the thing, right? Like I said the other day, Clint Hurdle said it's not the try hard league. As Yoda says, there is no try. The Nationals, they tried, guys, and they did a good job. They were down 6 runs, and they came back to beat the Metropolitans. It was their 4th comeback win of the season, and their 2nd walk-off win over the Mets this series. So that's twice that they bested the Mets in walk-off fashion. They have an MLB high tying 7 games that they've won by 1 run. AJ, what does that tell you about this club?
They're getting lucky in late in games? I don't know. I mean, people are going to say, oh, they never give up. But no team ever gives up. I mean, Pete should have had that ball. He made a bad throw. I mean, that's how they won that game. Listen, I don't know. I don't know what it says. It says they've got lucky and they've won some games. I don't know. I mean, the Mets are looking at themselves going, we were winning 7-1 in the 7th inning. We got to close that game out. And I know they didn't have Diaz, but I don't know what it says.
All right, let me ask you this then.
Don't give me this. Don't give me this, Alanna. Oh, they never give up, because no big league team ever really gives up. The bats all count, so you're still trying.
I wasn't going to say that. What I was going to say, what if that was the Phillies, that you're like, oh, well, we knew they had it in them. We know that they have the firepower. They're down 7-1, blah, blah, blah. And
same thing, it's lucky. It's lucky it's lucky when you come back down 7-1, Kratz. You tell them. It doesn't happen that much. It's lucky. It's lucky. You got to get a break here and there. And the Mets gave them a couple breaks. There was a couple balls that got through holes. It wasn't like they hit 7 home runs. I mean, it was choppers that went through holes. Alonso making the error. I mean, it's kind of like the way the Giants won yesterday. I mean, Heliot Ramos scored on a ball that went 37 feet, and he scored from home. I mean, come on, that's luck. That's not anything else except for luck.
It's also super bad defense by the Rangers. I mean, I don't know that that's luck. It's just bad defensive baseball.
I mean, it's luck for the team who wins. It's bad baseball for the team who loses. They didn't have Edwin Diaz to come out to close the game, so now your bullpen, everybody has to slot up. You're winning by 7 runs. You need a guy to come out and give you 3 innings so that you don't burn out the rest of the bullpen. Like, they're not just throwing, oh, we're winning 7-1. We're throwing our 7th inning guy, our 8th inning guy. No, it's a cavalcade of, oh, we got some guys on. All right, guys got to get loose. Where's Edwin? Oh, Edwin's down today. There's different things that go into a 7-1. I think your question was, why are the Nats winning close games like this? And to me, I think teams that win close games, Giants for an entire decade, they pitch, they play defense, and they don't try to drive the ball out of the ballpark. Because if you're losing 7-1, if you're losing close games, rarely are you coming back and going, we'll just hit the dinger and win the close games. The teams that swing for the fences usually win by a lot, lose by a lot if they don't play defense. Guys that play defense and pitch, so it shows the Nats are right in that realm right there. But one-run games can be lucky. Again, unless you're the Giants, they were just really, really good at it, and you don't luck into 3 World Series.
The 10, 12, and 14. The only thing I took out of that is Edwin Diaz didn't pitch, and I wonder if his legs are still different sizes, different lengths. That's all I'm wondering. All right, coming up, we're going to be slapping hands. Just yank it out of the socket. Slapping hands right after this.
FT Nation, my people of FT, the gamblers of FT, what's happening? It's your boy Parlay Pap coming to you with the lock of the day. Pretty simple. The Papulator, the calculator for Pap, has come up with 2 games today: the Dodgers and the Reds. Okay, we're going to take both of them in the money line today. We're going to parlay them together. We're going to put 200 on it. We're going to get plus money. We're going to win cheese. But we need them both to win by 2 runs today, and I got them at 60-something%. So we're going to roll with them. Let's get that cheese.
Let's get that cheese. I could listen to him talk all day. He just said, let's get that cheese.
The Papulator? What do you say?
The Papulator. That's his calculator, if you will. It's the Papulator. But you got to say it with that Mississippi twang. The Papulator.
Pap went to Mississippi State. They don't teach math in Mississippi State. Trust me.
Wow. Okay, Florida, big guy. All right, so
I got a daughter. My daughter goes to Mississippi State. Alanna, I can say that.
That is true. I'm taking the Dodgers run line. The reason I know homer, but they're playing the Marlins. Okay, so I'm taking the Dodgers run line, and I need them to beat the Marlins by 2 runs. Okay, that is my lock of the day. All right.
Who's pitching?
So,
Who's pitching?
Alana's actual quote was, "It'll be more than 2." So that was her actual quote. So I'm excited to watch this game, but I'm tailing it, Alanna. Good for you.
Thank you for that. And by the way, you and I are teammates. You're not supposed to be giving away all of my secrets and all of the things that I say behind the scenes. So there's our locks of the day. Again, we were 0 for 4 on Friday, so let's see if we can do a better job. BetMGM account holders will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. Score a bigger payout if your wager with the Parlay Boost token hits. Tokens can be used on parlays and SGPs. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We're slapping hands after this. How about the job that Arizona Diamondbacks third baseman Eugenio Suárez had the other game, you guys? 4 home runs in 1 game. It is only the 19th time in Major League Baseball history that has occurred. Eric, it is so rare. In fact, it is more rare than a perfect game.
That is the stat that I am flabbergasted by. And I couldn't even tell you who the last person was. Was it JD Martinez who did it last? It's
Yes.
it's
It
crazy.
was in
And he did it-
2017, yeah.
And he did it in, like, this was the game tying home run. And the team ended up losing. Like, that's tough. But like they say in the show, 2 for 4, what's the score? So he had a good day. He was happy.
It stinks that it comes in a loss.
It stinks that he lost. It stinks that he lost because you can't be that happy because you can't really celebrate in front of your teammates when there's 25 other guys and whoever lost got the losses. The pitcher is pissed that they had to give up the run. So in the starting pitcher's mag, it was a high scoring game. So yeah, you're happy inside, but you can't be the happy hit guy, Kratz. You know that. You can't be a happy hit guy just because you got hit. The team lost. You can't be. Don't never be the happy hit guy. You got to fake it. When you get home, you pop the bottle. But in front of everybody, you kind of got to be like, man, this sucks. But deep inside, you're like, man, I had 4 homers today. That's a good.
Isn't
that's
that
a good
like
month. That's like a good
worst
2
kind of
months for some
teammate?
people.
Isn't that the worst kind of teammate? Like when the guy that has a good day and is like super happy, but the team loses. But if he had a crap day and the team won, he's just in the clubhouse sulking. I mean, that's the worst, right?
That's the worst. That's happy hit guy. Don't be that guy. And if you don't know what that means, just open your eyes and watch because you see it. You see it more in the minor leagues. I jokingly said it's a big league thing. 2 for 4, what's the score, is a very minor league thing. And that's where guys can't make that transition to being a team player. But think about the fact that what other historical, like significantly historical things in baseball, you celebrate. You have, like, they commemorate. They give you all the bases. I hope they give him home plate. Like, to have all that, like, and it's an L. You can't really celebrate it. Look at we just talked about it the other day, Philip Humber's perfect game. There's less perfect games, or there's more perfect games than 4 home run games, like you said, Alanna, and you can't celebrate it.
Yeah, it's insane. All right, Kratz hats, what you wearing?
I mean, maybe we'll get the O's mojo going around, but need it. It's a clean O. It's a clean
nice.
O, but right now, this is how many runs they're scoring, so they need to change it up.
It looks a little too San Francisco Giant-y for this Dodgers fan. By the way, Dodgers Territory is next. Stay with us right here on the Foul Territory platform, Dodgers Territory with myself and Clint Pasillas. So for all of us on Foul Territory, AJ, Eric, Claudia, Jeremy, Gabby, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.
Get that Japanese toilet, Alanna.